The year was 2284, and the human race had begun to stretch its wings across the stars. After centuries of experimentation with space travel, humanity had unlocked the secrets of faster-than-light, FTL, propulsion and set its sights on the stars beyond the Sol system. Despite humanity's raw potential, the galaxy remained a chaotic and tumultuous place, where countless civilizations vied for control over the rich resources scattered across the stars. Most races viewed humans with skepticism, primitive, short-lived, and lacking the sophistication of older galactic species. Yet, none could deny the humans' persistence. The rapid expansion of human colonies across the galaxy had begun to earn them a reputation, though one that was far from flattering. At first, humanity's rise was a slow and calculated affair. Colonies were established on remote planets, resources extracted, and technology developed. Earth's United Nations had slowly consolidated power over its far-flung colonies, creating a united front against the chaos that plagued the galaxy. But this unity came at a cost. Other galactic powers considered humanity a nuisance, a species to be ignored or crushed when it became a threat. The tipping point came when humanity discovered something the galaxy's powers had overlooked: the enigmatic relics of a long-extinct race, known only as the Firstborn. These ancient beings had once ruled the galaxy, their technology and knowledge far surpassing anything the modern galactic races had achieved. Buried on a distant, frozen moon, hidden beneath layers of ice and rock, was the key to an incredible power, the core nexus, an artifact of immense energy. The moment humanity unearthed the core nexus, everything changed. The Firstborn had built their empire around the power of this artifact, and now, humanity had unlocked its secrets. The core nexus was not just a power source, it was a gateway, capable of manipulating time, space, and energy on a scale never before imagined. The technology it provided allowed for instantaneous travel between distant star systems, rendering conventional FTL travel obsolete. No longer was humanity confined to the slow crawl of conventional exploration, the stars were at their fingertips. The discovery shook the galaxy to its core. The major powers, races like the highly disciplined Tzkal, the psychically advanced Var, and the mysterious Zari, had long dominated the galactic stage. But none had anticipated a species as young as humanity would possess the means to challenge their long-held supremacy. As the galactic powers watched, the humans' meteoric rise continued. They harnessed the power of the core nexus to build massive fleets, capable of crossing the galaxy in moments. Their ships were equipped with weapons and shields unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen, powered by the energy contained within the core nexus. And with each new leap forward, humanity's reputation shifted from that of an annoying upstart to a serious contender for galactic dominance. But it wasn't just their technology that set them apart, it was their drive. Humans were relentless in their pursuit of progress, a characteristic that had carried them through millennia of struggle. While other species were content to maintain the status quo, humans constantly sought to innovate, to push the boundaries of what was possible. This unyielding ambition, combined with their newfound technological superiority, made them a force that could not be ignored. In the wake of humanity's rise, the galaxy was forced to reckon with the fact that a new power had emerged, one that had no intention of taking a backseat to anyone. The other species, some of whom had existed for millennia, began to question their place in the galaxy. Would they continue to tolerate this upstart race that seemed to leap forward at every turn? Or would they challenge humanity, risking everything to prevent them from achieving supremacy? The answer was not yet clear. But one thing was certain: the galaxy was changing, and humanity was at the center of it all. The old order was beginning to crumble, and a new era was on the horizon. The stage was set for a struggle of unimaginable proportions, one that would test humanity's resolve and determine whether the human race would truly become the pinnacle of galactic power, or fall before the might of ancient empires long established in the stars. As humans built their fleets, constructed towering space stations, and forged alliances with other species, the rest of the galaxy began to whisper among themselves. The time of humanity's ascension was at hand. The question remained: could they hold on to this newfound power, or would it be ripped away by the forces that had ruled for centuries? Only time would tell, but for now, humanity had the galaxy in its sights, and the first steps towards supremacy had been taken. This sets the stage for the unfolding story, establishing the mystery of the core nexus, humanity's sudden technological leap, and the reaction of the other galactic powers. Part 1 introduces the high stakes and teases the potential conflicts to come. As humanity's technological revolution unfolded, the response from the galaxy's established powers was swift and mixed. In the vast councils of the TZKAL, the tall, angular beings who had long commanded the respect of the galaxy's military forces, fear began to spread like wildfire. The TZKAL were no strangers to war, but they had always relied on their disciplined strategies and ancient fleet tactics. The sudden appearance of human fleets, capable of moving across the galaxy with a speed and precision that even the TZKAL had never dreamed of, sent shockwaves through their leadership. A meeting was convened, with the high-ranking officers of the TZKAL fleet, their best minds, and their most influential political leaders gathered to assess the threat. "We cannot allow this human uprising to continue," General Starr, the TZKAL's most renowned strategist, declared. "Their technology, if left unchecked, will obliterate everything we've fought for. We must act quickly, before they grow too strong." Meanwhile, in the VAR Council, the psychically attuned race of scholars and diplomats observed the rise of humanity with growing unease. The VAR had long relied on their vast psychic networks and intellectual supremacy to maintain a position of power. But humanity, though lacking in psychic prowess, seemed to have a tenacity and adaptability that the VAR found both alarming and fascinating. No sooner had humanity acquired the power of the core nexus than they had begun to unlock new technologies, such as neural interfaces that allowed humans to work in unison, their minds interlinking to increase efficiency. At the VAR summit, First Seer El-Var, the most influential psychic in the galaxy, voiced her concern. "The humans are not like us," she said with an eerie calm, her voice laced with a psychic undercurrent that stirred the room. "They are unpredictable. If we do not engage with them now, we risk losing our place in the galaxy forever." The Zari, a race known for their enigmatic and almost mystical understanding of the universe, were even more cryptic in their approach. The Zari had no interest in militaristic conquest, preferring instead to study the mysteries of existence and the strange energy currents that flowed through the galaxy. However, the arrival of the human ships, with their unprecedented ability to manipulate space itself, disrupted the natural order the Zari held sacred. On Zari Prime, a quiet, cloistered world, the elders gathered in their ancient sanctuaries, sensing a profound shift in the fabric of reality. "Humanity's grasp of the Nexus power is unnatural," one elder whispered. "It is an energy that should not be tampered with. We must intervene." As the established galactic powers scrambled to form alliances and strategize against humanity's rising influence, Earth itself was undergoing a transformation. The United Nations, now representing all of humanity's colonies, was embroiled in an internal struggle. The sudden surge of power brought with it both optimism and fear. Not everyone agreed on the next steps. Some factions, particularly the more isolationist groups, argued that humanity should remain defensive, focused on protecting their newfound territories. Others saw an opportunity to advance even further, seizing the moment to expand human influence across the galaxy. In the heart of the United Nations headquarters, the President of Earth, Helena Marlowe, a pragmatic and fiercely intelligent leader, sat in a meeting with her most trusted advisors. "The galaxy will not accept us as equals unless we make them," she declared. "We cannot afford to hesitate. The TZKAL, the VAR, they see us as a threat. But we are more than a threat, we are an opportunity. We must force their hand." Her words resonated through the room, but there was tension in the air. The human race had not yet learned the full extent of their power, and some questioned whether the political system could handle the unprecedented responsibility that lay ahead. Despite the tensions on Earth, there was one undeniable truth: humanity was no longer just a fringe species in the galaxy. Their rise had created a ripple effect, disturbing the status quo and forcing even the most powerful empires to take notice. In the months that followed, the first galactic summit between humanity and the other major powers was scheduled. Earth's representatives, led by President Marlowe, would sit across the table from the TZKAL, the VAR, and the Zari, among others. The diplomatic tensions were palpable as the summit approached, with each race preparing for the possibility of war, or an uneasy alliance. But as the summit date neared, one thing became certain: humanity would no longer play the role of an underdog. They had earned their place at the table, whether the galaxy's powers liked it or not. The question was no longer if humanity would rise to supremacy, it was how far they were willing to go to secure it. In the cold, calculated halls of the Tzkal Empire, General Star sat before a holographic map, his clawed fingers hovering over the star systems that had been earmarked as potential targets. "We will test them," he muttered under his breath. "If they are truly worthy of this power, they will prove it on the battlefield." And thus, the stage was set. The galaxy was on the brink of a new era, one where humanity would either solidify its place as the supreme power, or ignite a war that could tear everything apart. The Galactic Summit was supposed to be a chance for diplomacy, a moment for all parties to discuss their concerns and attempt to find common ground. Yet, as the day of the summit approached, it became increasingly clear that no such resolution would come easily. Humanity's newfound power had unsettled the long-established order, and the tension between the galactic empires had reached a breaking point. The representatives of Earth arrived on the grand capital world of the Tzkal Empire, a massive planet wrapped in sharp, jagged mountains and thick, smog-filled skies. Tzkal City, the seat of their government, was a towering metropolis of steel and glass, with grand spires that stretched toward the heavens. It was here, in the heart of Tzkal space, that humanity would face its first true test. President Helena Marlowe and her delegation were met with a mixture of reverence and hostility. The Tzkal viewed humanity as an upstart, an interloper in their long-held domain. And though Marlowe remained composed, the unease in her chest was undeniable. She understood the gravity of the situation. This summit would determine whether humanity would rise to power peacefully or face the full wrath of the galaxy's might. The opening day of negotiations began with tense formalities, with the various races exchanging hollow pleasantries. The Var, with their translucent, shimmering forms, and the Zari, with their unfathomable, otherworldly presence, sat in silence. The Tzkal delegation, led by the imposing General Star, dominated the room with their sheer size and military bearing. As President Marlowe prepared to speak, she couldn't shake the feeling that something was amiss. There was a quiet unease in the air, whispers among the representatives, glances exchanged in the shadows. The other galactic powers were not ready to let humanity claim its place at the table without a fight. Though they had agreed to the summit, it was clear that they would never accept humanity's rise to power. The peace talks quickly took a turn for the worse. A sudden interruption, a disturbance in the diplomatic hall, brought the proceedings to a halt. On the projection screens scattered across the room, an image appeared, one of a massive Tzkal fleet massing at the border of human space. General Star's face appeared next to the fleet's massive formations, his cold eyes gleaming with silent threat. "It seems," Star's voice boomed across the comms, "that your species does not understand the weight of your newfound power, President Marlowe. You are not welcome here. Your presence threatens the very balance of the galaxy." The Var and Zari exchanged uncomfortable glances, but no one spoke. The Tzkal had just made their intentions clear. They intended to demonstrate their superiority with force. In the blink of an eye, the summit hall turned into a war room. Marlowe's team, always prepared for the worst, quickly shifted into a defensive stance, calling upon Earth's newly formed fleet to mobilize at the edge of human space. Her advisors scrambled to identify the enemy fleet's strength and capabilities, while she remained calm, her mind racing with options. The situation had escalated too quickly, and the danger was clear: if the Tzkal attacked, it could lead to an all-out war. "We cannot let them intimidate us," Marlowe said firmly. "We will show them that humanity is not to be trifled with." The response from humanity was swift and decisive. Across the stars, the core Nexus-powered fleet of the United Nations was ready for its first true test in combat. The ships, designed with the most advanced technology humanity had ever created, hummed with energy, their weapons primed, and their crews eager to prove their worth. The first clash between human and Tzkal forces occurred just beyond the edge of Earth's colonies. The TZKAL fleet, vastly larger and more experienced, charged toward the humans with all the ferocity of a well-drilled military force. Their ships were formidable, massive, heavily armored warships that were built for battle. But humanity's ships were faster, more agile, and their weapons more lethal than anything the TZKAL had anticipated. The TZKAL's first wave of attacks came in the form of an overwhelming assault, their ships attempting to surround and crush humanity's smaller, more nimble fleet. But the humans had studied their enemy, and they knew exactly how to counter the TZKAL's tactics. Using their FTL technology, the human fleet broke through the TZKAL lines with precision, jumping in and out of different points in space, making it nearly impossible for the TZKAL to keep up. Human warships darted across the battlefield, their energy weapons tearing into the TZKAL ships with ruthless efficiency. Each blast from the human fleet struck with the force of a star's fury, and the TZKAL, unprepared for such advanced weaponry, began to falter. General Starr, observing from his command ship, growled in frustration. "Their ships, their technology is too advanced," he muttered. "We underestimated them." But Starr was not one to admit defeat easily. He called in reinforcements, massive dreadnoughts designed to unleash devastating barrages of firepower. The human fleet had the upper hand, but it would not be for long if the TZKAL could get their full strength into the fight. For a moment, it seemed as though humanity might triumph over their formidable opponents, but the TZKAL were relentless. They pushed back, and the battle grew more intense as the two fleets clashed in the vast void of space. The humans' advantage in speed and agility gave them the upper hand, but the TZKAL's raw firepower was nothing to underestimate. As the battle raged on, President Marlowe watched from Earth's command center, her heart pounding. The outcome of this conflict would determine whether humanity could truly claim its place among the stars, or whether it would be crushed beneath the heel of the galaxy's established powers. And so, humanity's first taste of war was at hand. The stakes could not have been higher. Would they survive? Or would their ambitions be snuffed out in the cold expanse of space? The battle would be decided, not by numbers or brute strength, but by the resolve of the human spirit, an unyielding drive that no empire could predict. The aftermath of the initial battle was a moment of profound reflection for humanity. Though they had triumphed against the TZKAL in the first clash, the cost had been staggering. Humanity's fleet, though technologically superior, had lost several ships, and the TZKAL had proven themselves resilient, regrouping quickly and licking their wounds. For the first time, President Helena Marlowe questioned the path they had chosen. Victory had come, but at what price? The battle had been a stark reminder of the stakes involved. The TZKAL were not to be underestimated, and this skirmish was only a prelude to the much larger conflict that loomed on the horizon. The TZKAL empire had been shaken, but they would not be easily defeated. In fact, General Starr's reaction had been anything but one of surrender. Instead, it was a vow for retaliation, a promise that humanity's rise would be met with the full fury of TZKAL power. On Earth, the victory was heralded as a triumph of human resilience. The media and public celebrated humanity's technological prowess and the success of their fleet, but President Marlowe felt a sense of foreboding deep within her. The TZKAL were just the beginning. Their enemies were vast, and their desire to retain their dominance over the galaxy was unyielding. There would be more challenges to come. How long do we have before they retaliate? Marlowe asked her advisors in a tense meeting. Her military chief, Admiral Lyle Hargrave, responded grimly, "They'll come at us again. And when they do, they'll come harder." Across the galaxy, the rest of the galactic powers were watching closely, assessing humanity's capabilities. The VAR, ever the watchers of the unseen currents, had been particularly interested in the outcome. The psychic race had never shown much interest in warfare, preferring to manipulate the galaxy's currents through diplomacy and influence rather than outright battle. However, the VAR Council had begun to take notice of humanity's brutal efficiency. First Seer Elvar, still grappling with the knowledge that humanity had managed to hold its own against the mighty TZKAL, convened an emergency session with the VAR's highest advisors. "We underestimated them," Elvar stated, her voice heavy with psychic resonance. Humanity is unlike anything we've encountered. Their drive, their will, it's unmatched. This isn't just about technology, it's something deeper. One of the senior VAR diplomats, an older figure named Turos, nodded in agreement. We have observed them for decades. The humans thrive under pressure. They don't falter the way others might, and that is what makes them dangerous. The Zari, meanwhile, had remained aloof from the conflict, preferring to observe from the shadows. But even they could feel the disturbance in the fabric of space itself. The energy ripples caused by the conflict between the Tzkal and humanity were unlike anything the Zari had ever encountered. They could sense the disruption in the cosmic flow, and it unsettled them. I've seen this before, Elders Thar, the most revered of the Zari, said quietly in his chamber. The humans are like a force of nature, unstoppable and unpredictable. If we do not intervene, the galaxy will change beyond our recognition. The Zari's concerns weren't unwarranted. For all their mysticism and knowledge of the stars, they could not ignore the reality unfolding before them. Humanity's rise to power was not simply a matter of technological superiority. It was a matter of will, a relentless drive that had propelled them to the pinnacle of galactic influence in a mere few decades. Back on Earth, the UN had taken to fortifying humanity's positions. The fleet was expanded, new colonies were established, and the core nexus was studied more intensely than ever. But Marlowe's leadership, though decisive, could not shake the fear that a greater conflict was inevitable. The galaxy would not allow humanity to rise unchallenged. And yet, it was during this period of preparation, as tensions mounted, that humanity's true strength began to reveal itself, not in their ships, their weapons, or their advanced technology, but in the spirit of unity and innovation that bound the species together. The military-industrial complex of Earth had begun to truly tap into the potential of the core nexus. Scientists, engineers, and military leaders worked side by side in ways never before seen. The human desire to innovate, to build, adapt, and overcome, became the greatest asset in the looming war. "I'll not let them take us down," Admiral Hargrave had said to Marlowe one night, a fierce determination in his eyes. "Not after all we've sacrificed." And so, the human race began to prepare for war on an even larger scale, understanding that it was not just their technology that had brought them this far, but their unyielding willpower to survive and thrive. Then, the call came. The Tzkal were moving. This time, however, they were not coming alone. The Tzkal had entered into an alliance with the VAR, a desperate attempt to combine their brute force with the psychic prowess of the VAR in a final effort to suppress humanity. The galaxy's oldest and most powerful empires were making their stand, and they were bringing their full might to bear. The first waves of the combined Tzkal-VAR fleet moved toward the outskirts of human-controlled space. Humanity's forces were already in position, but this was unlike any conflict they had faced. They would be fighting not only for their survival but for the very future of their species. As President Marlowe gazed at the holographic battlefield before her, she understood the gravity of the situation. There was no turning back. The test had begun in earnest, and humanity's will would be the deciding factor in this pivotal struggle. Would they rise to the challenge, or would they fall before the combined might of the galaxy's greatest powers? The war to determine humanity's place in the stars was about to reach its breaking point. The galaxy was on the brink. The alliance between the Tzkal and the VAR had shifted the balance of power dramatically, and humanity found itself facing its most formidable adversaries yet. The initial shock of the Tzkal-VAR alliance reverberated through Earth's ranks, but it also sparked a surge of resolve. The unyielding spirit that had carried humanity from their humble beginnings to their current status in the galaxy now burned brighter than ever. President Marlowe's command center buzzed with activity as her advisors and military leaders scrambled to prepare for the full-scale assault. The combined Tzkal-VAR fleet, vast and ruthless, was approaching human space at an alarming rate, and the stakes had never been higher. The human fleet, though smaller in number, was ready. They had faced overwhelming odds before, and their unity and resourcefulness would be their greatest assets. "This is it," Admiral Hargrave said, looking over the holographic map, his jaw set in determination. We can't afford to let them take another step. Our tactics have worked so far, but now we'll need something more. We need to turn the tide before they break through. Marlowe stood at the head of the room, her eyes steady as she took in the gravity of the situation. The weight of leadership had never felt so heavy, but her voice was unwavering. We will do what humans do best, adapt. We'll outthink them, outmaneuver them. This isn't just about firepower, it's about proving that we are worthy of the stars. Across the galaxy, the TZKAL and VAR fleets advanced. The VAR, with their unparalleled psychic abilities, had begun to use their power to disrupt the human fleet's communication systems, sending waves of confusion through the ranks. At the same time, the TZKAL unleashed wave after wave of missile barrages, seeking to overwhelm humanity with sheer numbers. The human fleet's response, however, was nothing short of brilliant. Thanks to their ability to network their ships via advanced neural interfaces, the humans communicated and adapted faster than the enemy could anticipate. Each ship in the fleet was a part of a collective, and their ability to adapt in real time allowed them to outthink the VAR's psychic disturbances. In the heart of battle, the human command structure remained unbroken, a testament to their resilience and innovative thinking. "Prepare the disruptors," Hargrave ordered, a tactical smile crossing his face. "Let's show them how humanity fights." It was then that humanity's secret weapon came into play, the core Nexus technology. After years of research, humanity had unlocked a deeper level of the Nexus potential, a level that allowed them to manipulate gravitational fields and even warp space itself. It was this breakthrough that would change the course of the war. As the first TZKAL ships closed in on the human fleet, the human ships suddenly disappeared from their scanners, vanishing in the blink of an eye. The TZKAL fleet commanders scrambled, unable to locate their targets. It was as if the humans had dissolved into the fabric of space, a new form of stealth that was both disorienting and terrifying. The TZKAL had never faced anything like it. Then, with a sudden shift, humanity's ships reappeared in the midst of the TZKAL formation, launching a devastating counterstrike. The human fleet's advanced weaponry tore through the TZKAL dreadnoughts with precision, their shields no match for the newly optimized energy weapons powered by the Nexus. "Impossible!" General Starr shouted, watching in disbelief as his ships were torn apart. How did they? But the TZKAL could not adapt as quickly as humanity had. They were too reliant on their sheer firepower, and the speed at which humanity's fleet moved, coupled with their ability to manipulate space itself, left the TZKAL reeling. Meanwhile, the VAR, who had always maintained their psychic superiority, found themselves struggling to control the battlefield. The Nexus technology was disrupting their mental abilities, sending psychic waves of interference through their collective consciousness. The VAR's coordinated psychic attacks, once their greatest strength, were now erratic and easily countered by humanity's highly trained crews. Amidst the chaos, President Marlowe made a daring decision. "Admiral, we need to push them back further. Let's take the fight directly to their heart. Target the TZKAL homeworld." It was a bold and risky move, but one that would demonstrate humanity's resolve and potentially break the enemy's will to fight. The human fleet launched a calculated, high-speed assault on the TZKAL capital, a planet known for its military fortifications and towering spires. As the human ships approached, General Starr tried desperately to marshal his defenses, but the TZKAL's forces were stretched thin from the battle at the edges of human space. What followed was a devastating bombardment. Humanity's fleet descended upon the TZKAL homeworld like a storm. Starr's flagship, the Obsidian Dawn, was one of the last ships standing, but even it was no match for the coordinated assault from humanity's fleet. With their superior tactics, the humans struck at the heart of the TZKAL empire. The planet's defenses crumbled as the TZKAL fleet disintegrated under the relentless pressure. Back on Earth, the victory was celebrated, but it came at a cost. The human fleet had suffered significant losses, and though they had crippled the TZKAL military, the war was far from over. The VAR, watching the devastation unfold, began to reconsider their position. It was clear that humanity was not going to back down, no matter the odds. And then came the final twist. Just as the human fleet began to regroup and assess the damage, a new, unexpected alliance formed. The Zari, long observers of the galactic currents, had decided to intervene. The ancient race of cosmic scholars had made their move, offering a treaty to humanity. "We recognize your strength, humanity," Elder Thar's voice echoed through the diplomatic channels. "The flow of the galaxy has shifted, and it is clear that you now stand as the galaxy's new force. We wish to offer our knowledge and aid." It was a game-changer. The Zari's offer of knowledge, of untapped cosmic energy and technologies that had once been the secret to their longevity, was the final piece humanity needed to cement their place in the galaxy. As President Marlowe looked out over the stars, she understood that humanity's journey was just beginning. The Tzkal had been humbled, the Var had learned respect, and now, the galaxy's future lay in humanity's hands. The tide had turned. Humanity had not only survived, they had triumphed. And the galaxy would never be the same again. The shockwaves of humanity's victory against the Tzkal-Var alliance reverberated across the galaxy, reshaping the very structure of interstellar power. The Tzkal, once the dominant military force, were left in disarray, their empire shattered and scattered. The Var, long regarded as the galaxy's most intellectually and psychically advanced race, found their psychic dominion fractured by the human core nexus technology. It was a humbling moment, and the galaxy, for the first time in millennia, seemed uncertain of its future. For humanity, however, this was only the beginning of their true test. The Zari's offer of knowledge had been both a boon and a challenge. The ancient race had shared with humanity vast knowledge of cosmic energies, theories of spacetime manipulation, and even glimpses of the future. But with that gift came a heavy responsibility. The Zari had made it clear, humanity was now entrusted with the power to reshape the galaxy, but at a cost. The knowledge came with risks, and the ability to wield it without causing unintended consequences was something that could not be underestimated. President Marlowe, now recognized as a leader not only of Earth but of a new galactic power, stood at the helm of humanity's destiny. The resources and alliances gained through their victory had catapulted them into a position of influence, but this power was fragile, and the enemies they had made were far from vanquished. The galaxy was still watching, waiting for humanity to make its next move. Marlowe and her advisors gathered once more, discussing their path forward. The Zari had suggested that humanity build a new council, one where all races could come together in the spirit of cooperation and mutual respect. It was a tempting offer, one that could ensure peace in the galaxy, but there were factions within humanity's own ranks that believed in a more aggressive approach. "Peace is an illusion," Admiral Hargrave said bluntly, standing at the war map, eyes fixed on the galaxy's sprawling territories. "We've won, yes, but we can't afford to be complacent. Our enemies are still out there, waiting for a moment of weakness." Marlowe considered his words carefully. There was no denying the truth in them. The Tzkal might have been defeated, but their thirst for revenge would never be quenched. The Var, though now humbled, were still a formidable force with vast psychic abilities, and the Zari, though ancient, had their own motivations. Humanity had earned its place at the table, but the seat came with immense challenges. "The Zari's council is a good first step," Marlowe replied, her voice calm but firm. "But we will not back down from any threat. We must show the galaxy that humanity is not just a fleeting power, our influence will be lasting, and our ideals will guide the future of the stars." The new council, dubbed the Galactic Accord, was formed in the wake of the Tzkal-Var defeat. It was an ambitious undertaking, one that sought to unite the galaxy's fractured races under a single banner of peace and cooperation. Representatives from every corner of known space were invited, including the defeated Tzkal and the still watchful Var. Earth's representatives were, of course, led by Marlowe, but humanity had also sent diplomats and emissaries to represent their colonies and allies in the broader effort to forge a new order. The first gathering of the Galactic Accord was held on a neutral planet in the uncharted regions of space, chosen for its strategic location and its neutrality. The planet was surrounded by natural energy fields that had, until recently, been unexplored. It was in this volatile, yet serene setting that the representatives of the galaxy would meet to discuss the future. But peace was never easy to come by. As the diplomatic summit began, the room was thick with tension. The Tzkal, though humbled, were not ready to forgive or forget their defeat. General Starr, the same commander who had once vowed to crush humanity, now sat at the table, his pride wounded but his resolve unbroken. "We have lost much," he declared, his voice cold, "but we are not defeated. The galaxy is vast, and the Tzkal will rise again. You may have won a battle, but the war is far from over." Marlowe did not flinch. "You may have lost the battle, General, but the war for your future has already begun. Humanity will not be an empire that destroys. Our strength lies in unity, not conquest. You can join us in that vision, or you can continue to fight an inevitable losing battle." The Var, their once all-powerful psychic abilities now disrupted by humanity's Nexus tech, were more cautious. First Seer Elvar, though still wise and powerful, looked at the humans with newfound respect. "Your victory has changed the currents of the galaxy, humanity. We must consider whether we are ready to adapt to a new future, a future where you are not only a force to be reckoned with, but a voice of reason." The Zari, silent observers up until this point, spoke through Elders Thar. "Humanity's potential is limitless, but with such power comes great responsibility. The knowledge we have shared with you is not without its dangers. If you do not tread carefully, you could find yourselves in the same position as the Tzkal, desiring power for power's sake, rather than for the betterment of the galaxy." These words echoed through the council hall, and Marlowe felt the weight of them. The Zari were right, humanity had been gifted with the power to change the galaxy, but if they were not careful, they could easily become the very thing they had fought against. The summit was long and fraught with heated debates. But in the end, a fragile peace was forged, and the foundations of the Galactic Accord were laid. Humanity would lead, but not through force alone. They would be a beacon of progress and cooperation in a galaxy that had known too much conflict. Yet, even as the accords were signed, Marlowe knew that the challenges ahead would not be simple. The Tzkal were not yet broken, and the Var's fragile alliance could collapse at any moment. New factions, new threats, would rise to challenge humanity's newfound status. But one thing was clear: humanity had changed the course of history. No longer would they be the underdogs in the galaxy. They were the architects of a new era, one defined by their will to survive and their unwavering belief in their place in the stars. As Marlowe looked out at the galaxy, now full of uncertainty and opportunity, she understood the true scope of humanity's potential. The rise of human supremacy was not about domination, it was about hope. And with that hope, humanity had secured its future among the stars. But the true test was yet to come. The peace forged at the Galactic Accord was tenuous at best. Though humanity had succeeded in securing its place as the new power in the galaxy, the fractures beneath the surface were impossible to ignore. The Tzkal, though having sworn an uneasy truce, still plotted in the shadows, their pride wounded but their thirst for vengeance undiminished. The Var, once the undisputed intellectual elite of the galaxy, now found themselves in a precarious position, forced to reckon with a new power whose raw, untamed ambition could not be controlled by the subtleties of psychic influence. And even the Zari, with all their cosmic wisdom, knew that the balance they had long maintained was being rewritten, for better or for worse. The moment of true peace had not yet arrived, and as the galaxy entered a new age, the final test of humanity's resolve was on the horizon. It began with whispers, rumors that the Tzkal had secretly begun to rebuild their fleet. Despite the diplomatic overtures at the Galactic Accord, their warriors were restless, their desire for dominance simmering just below the surface. General Starr, though diplomatic at the summit, was a commander at heart, and the fire of conquest still burned in his chest. Humanity, ever vigilant, began to monitor the situation. Intelligence reports flooded in from every corner of their growing empire, and what they discovered was chilling. The Tzkal had established a new warfront on the edges of their territory, a place where they could wage war without the prying eyes of the Accord. And they were not alone. The Var, despite their reservations, had begun to subtly rearm themselves as well. The psychic disturbances they had once wielded so effortlessly had started to intensify again. First Seer Elvar had warned humanity of this, though in veiled terms, speaking cryptically about the currents of the stars being disrupted. And, unknown to most, the Zari had begun to take a more active interest in human affairs. Their cryptic statements had been a warning, but now, it seemed as if their ancient understanding of cosmic balance was leading them to consider whether humanity itself posed a threat to the galaxy's natural order. In the midst of this growing tension, President Helena Marlowe stood before the United Earth Assembly, facing a choice that would shape the galaxy's future. Her advisors, her generals, and even some of the most influential voices from humanity's colonies were calling for action. There were whispers of preemptive strikes against the TZKAL, even discussions about consolidating more military power. "We cannot wait for them to make the first move," Admiral Hargrave said, his voice sharp with urgency. "The TZKAL are rebuilding, and so are the VAR. If we wait for them to act, it will be too late." Marlowe, who had always prided herself on her ability to balance diplomacy with strength, felt the weight of the decision pressing down on her. She knew that humanity's place in the galaxy was still fragile. The moment they faltered, the balance could tip, and they would lose everything they had fought for. But there was something deeper at play here, something Marlowe had been reluctant to admit. The galaxy was changing, and not just because of humanity's rise. Something darker, more primordial, was beginning to stir in the depths of space. The first signs of this came in the form of strange cosmic anomalies. Ships from all races, including human and TZKAL vessels, began to report disturbances in spacetime, areas where reality itself seemed to warp and bend. Ancient ships, relics of races long forgotten, began to appear on the edges of known space, and their mere presence sent waves of fear through the galaxy. These anomalies were not of the TZKAL, nor the VAR, nor the Zari. They were ancient, a force older than any known empire. "We're not alone," Marlowe said quietly to her closest advisor, General Natalia Cruz, as they reviewed the latest intelligence reports. "Something else is out there. Something far older than us." The ancient threat, which had been slowly encroaching on the galaxy for centuries, was now impossible to ignore. The anomalies were the harbingers of an ancient species, an intelligence older than even the Zari. The galaxy, in its pursuit of power, had inadvertently awakened a force that had been lying dormant, waiting for the right moment to return. And that moment had come. Humanity, now the most powerful force in the galaxy, found itself staring down an existential threat. The TZKAL, the VAR, the Zari, and even the scattered remnants of long-forgotten empires, all of them had to unite in the face of the encroaching darkness. It wasn't a question of military might or political dominance anymore. The true test was whether the galaxy could overcome its divisions and work together. Humanity's newfound power, its unyielding drive, would be tested not by its ability to conquer, but by its ability to unite those who had once seen each other as enemies. The final battle was not one of fleets and soldiers. It was one of minds and wills. The galaxy's races would have to face the unthinkable, the destruction of everything they knew, unless they could combine their strengths and face the ancient force together. The TZKAL, for all their pride, saw the truth of it. They reluctantly agreed to form an alliance with the VAR, setting aside their differences for the sake of survival. The Zari, with their vast knowledge of the universe, joined the effort, revealing secrets of ancient technology that could help stave off the threat. Humanity, as it had always done, rose to lead. The war, however, would not be fought on the traditional battlefields of the stars. It would be a war for the very survival of existence itself, a war against an enemy that cared not for borders, races, or alliances. The fight was not only for the future of humanity, but for the future of the galaxy itself. It was a fight that would test every ounce of humanity's strength, unity, and will to survive. And as President Marlowe stood on the bridge of the flagship Liberty, staring out into the vast, unknown expanse of space, she realized that the rise of humanity had not been the end of their story, it was only the beginning. The true test of their supremacy had arrived. The final reckoning had begun.